South Korea's top diplomat says he believes U.S. President Donald Trump's leadership could resume talks between Washington and Pyongyang. But he also notes the U.S. is firm that North Korea cannot have nuclear weapons. And North Korea claims it hasn't taken down its propaganda loudspeakers directed at South Korea, rebutting Seoul's claim that Pyongyang has. Instead, it's once again made clear of its hostile stance toward the South. The South Korean economy continues to face challenges in sectors like construction investment, but also sees signs of a subtle yet tangible improvement, like increased consumption. U.S. President Donald Trump's leadership could help find a breakthrough in the long-stalled North Korea nuclear talks, South Korea's foreign minister says. But he also pointed out that North Korea as a nuclear-armed state won't be acceptable to Washington. Our Kim Bo-kyung searches off.
The United States would not accept North Korea as a nuclear-armed state. This is what South Korea's Foreign Minister Cho Hyun said on Thursday while speaking to reporters. He shared his views on a variety of issues, including Pyongyang-Washington ties. According to Cho, during last month's visit to Washington, he conveyed his view to the U.S. that he hopes U.S. President Donald Trump's leadership could help find a new breakthrough in the long-stalled nuclear talks with the North. He also underlined that there could be a tug-of-war before any breakthrough.
North Korea would want to talk with the U.S. as a nuclear-armed state. But the U.S. stance is that the North cannot have nuclear weapons, so it's going to take a lot of back and forth.
Strategic flexibility and alliance modernization were among the hot topics reporters asked Cho. He declined to give details ahead of the summit, but did point out that the ROK-U.S. alliance needs an expansion in technology as the world has changed a lot.
I think expanding and deepening the South Korea-U.S. alliance into a comprehensive future-orientated alliance that encompasses technologies like nuclear power, shipbuilding, AI, quantum, and biotechnology as part of a broader tech alliance is the right way to effectively utilize the alliance in response to the current challenging and changing international order.
When it comes to President Lee Jae-myung visiting Japan before the U.S., he said this was possible as the government underlines practicality. And for China, Cho did say there are fundamental differences between Seoul and Beijing, but emphasized the need to engage more to overcome such differences based on a pragmatic approach. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
In the meantime, North Korea has denied dismantling loudspeakers directed across the border toward South Korea, as earlier reported by officials here. Now, the Ministry of Unification says it'll come up with measures to stabilize inter-Korean relations. Cha Yoon-kyung has more.
Kim Yo-jong, the powerful sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, has rejected Seoul's conciliatory measures and reaffirmed Pyongyang's intent to maintain its hostile stance. In a statement released through the North state-run Korean Central News Agency on Thursday, Kim dismissed recent measures by the Lee Jae-myung administration, which took office in June, pledging to mend strained ties with North Korea. Lee's government has halted anti-Pyongyang loudspeaker broadcasts, moved to ban leaflet balloon launches into the north, and repatriated North Koreans who had drifted south in wooden fishing boats. Responding to Lee's remarks on Tuesday that the North has also removed some loudspeakers, Kim called it, quote-unquote, groundless speculation and a manipulation of public opinion, insisting North Korea has not dismantled the loudspeakers deployed along the border and doesn't intend to do so. Also in her statement, Kim Yo-jong criticized adjustments to the upcoming Korean-U.S. Uji Freedom Shield joint military exercise starting on August 18th, dismissing them as, quote-unquote, worthless and futile. Meanwhile, at a briefing on Thursday, South Korea's Ministry of National Defense said the military had explained the facts based on its observations of North Korea removing speakers. It urged caution against being swayed by the intent behind North Korea's announcements, adding it has often made unfounded claims. A military official said, quote-unquote, there is a possibility that Kim made such a statement because she did not want the regime to appear to be taking down the loudspeaker in response to the South's removal of its loudspeakers from border areas, adding that one loudspeaker had been removed from the border. Regarding Kim's hostile stance, the Ministry of Unification said it will come up with measures for the normalization and stabilization of inter-Korean relations. An official from the ministry stated the regime statement was timed to coincide with President Lee Jae-myung's August 15th Liberation Day speech, the Korea-U.S. joint military exercise, and the South Korea-U.S. summit scheduled for August 25th. Cha Yoon-kyung, Arirang News.
With just about 10 days to go until the August 25th South Korea-U.S. summit, attention is now on the trade issues yet to be fully resolved. For more on this, we have our economics correspondent Moon Ji-young here in the studio. Good to have you, Ji-young.
Good evening, Dami.
So, Ji-young, Korea's investment pledge is at the top of the trade agenda. Now, what's its status, and are the two sides aligned on investment destinations?
So the highly anticipated focus is on finalizing the details of South Korea's $350 billion investment pledge. We expect discussions on specific investment sectors and implementation timelines. Around $150 billion is earmarked for the MASCA project, a joint shipbuilding initiative named by the Korean government, with the remainder likely to be invested more broadly in critical sectors like chips and batteries. Given that Korea itself named the initiative, shipbuilding is clearly a sector Korea is strongly pushing in these negotiations. The Korean Trade Ministry emphasized on Thursday that the Korea-U.S. shipbuilding cooperation means new opportunities for Korean shipyards in the U.S. rather than job outflow. However, there have been complexities when it comes to cooperation. This is what one expert said about the situation.
One of the problems with the U.S. shipbuilding industry is that right now they are protected by the Jones Act, and that means foreign investment into U.S. shipbuilding sector is restricted. But if they do open up those markets, if they do open up, say, imports of shipbuilding related parts, intermediate parts, and raw material, then I think this will be one of the few areas where both sides can benefit.
To ensure its success, the Korean government plans to launch a consultative body involving relevant ministries to support this vital shipbuilding cooperation. Yet, the two countries notably hold differing views on this very investment plan. While the U.S. asserts the investment plan falls under its president's direction, Korea clarifies that the U.S. dictating all investment destinations is merely political expression. On these contrasting views, here's what the same expert had to say.
President Trump will probably push very hard for Korea to accept his interpretation rather than the Korean or Japanese interpretation. And it will be a very tough pressure because Trump will be negotiating not just for the Korean deal, but he's probably going to use the results from the Korean deal and reinterpretation as a model for Japan, European Union, and other countries as well.
I see. Ji-young, now another critical point is that Trump's proposed 100% tariffs on foreign-made semiconductors. The question is, how much of an impact are we expecting from here?
So these potential chip tariffs could have far-reaching implications, especially for the Korean economy. Semiconductors are Korea's largest export item, accounting for over 20% of its total exports. Given this reliance, the key uncertainty lies in whether the most favored nation treatment promised by the U.S. will be applied. Additionally, there's the question of how broadly the U.S. will define the scope of semiconductor items subject to these tariffs. However, Korea's chip giants have found some relief as the U.S. announced that companies committed to building chip facilities in the U.S. during the Trump administration term could be exempt from the proposed 100% tariff. This comes as Samsung has already invested in 2 fabrication plants in Texas, while SK Hynix plans to open an advanced chip packaging and AI R&D facility in Indiana. Chip tariffs have a significant impact not only on exporters to the U.S., but also on the American economy.
In terms of like this meaning of the tariffs, obviously on our daily lives are like completely depending on the electronics such as smartphone, TVs, and internet-based machines. So in that case, semiconductors are going to be extremely important. Therefore, the prices of consumers and also producers actually will eventually go up. So the most important effect is going to come through the inflation.
Well, Jiyoung, last but not least, about non-barrier tariffs like fine-tuning the agricultural market access, what can we expect?
Well, while the U.S. calls for historical market access for its agricultural products such as rice and beef, South Korea has firmly rejected any further opening, emphasizing that there will be no additional market access. This firm stance sets the stage for a critical discussion on agricultural market access at the upcoming summit.
Other countries know that if you push Korea to open beef and rice sector, they know that because this is so politically sensitive in Korea, that Korea will offer opening in other areas to not to get the other side to open beef and rice markets. So at the very beginning, you should expect the United States to push very hard to open Korea's beef and rice sectors. But later, they may be satisfied with gains in other sectors that are worth more to the United States than the rice and beef markets.
Beyond these points, further non-tariff barriers like Google's high-precision map data export will be crucial issues to monitor at the upcoming summit.
Indeed, we'll have to watch how the summit goes. Jiyoung, thank you so much for that wrap-up today.
Thank you for having me.
South Korea's finance ministry says the country's economy is showing some signs of recovery, driven in part by measures such as the implementation of a supplementary budget and also the livelihood recovery consumption coupon. Our Park Junan reports.
The Ministry of Economy and Finance removed the phrase downside pressure from the country's economic green book for August on Thursday for the first time this year. In the green book, the ministry noted that the country's economy has faced delays in the recovery of construction investment, employment challenges concentrated in vulnerable sectors, and concerns over a slowdown in exports due to U.S. tariffs. However, it highlighted some positive signs, including increased consumption driven by policies such as supplementary budgets and the distribution of a nationwide livelihood recovery consumption coupon.
Since the new government took office, expectations for supplementary budgets and the implementation of the Livelihood Recovery Consumption Coupon have boosted consumption. As a result, August's assessment shifts from saying consumption recovery is delayed to noting positive signs, such as an upward trend in consumption.
Exports in July grew 5.9% compared to the same period last year, led by semiconductors, while inflation moderately eased to 2.1%. The shift to an optimistic sentiment on consumption by consumers aligned with improved domestic and global uncertainties. The Composite Consumer Sentiment Index, considered optimistic when above 100, rose to 110.8 in July, marking 4 consecutive months of increases.
Consumer sentiment has gradually improved as political uncertainty eased. Following tariff negotiations with the U.S., economic uncertainty has significantly declined, with the 15% rate matching or falling below that of major countries.
The government pledged that it will swiftly execute the new supplementary budget and concentrate the capabilities of all government agencies so that the consumption coupons can serve as an opportunity to revitalize domestic demand. It also stated that officials will undertake all-out efforts to respond to trade risks, such as supporting companies affected by U.S. tariffs. Park Junan, Arirang News.
President Lee Jae-myung has once again pledged stronger support for Korea's independence fighters. On Thursday, the president hosted a luncheon at Cheongwade's Yeongbin-gwan Reception Hall with the families of those who fought for liberation from Japanese colonial rule, a day before the 80th anniversary.
독립운동하면 3대가 망한다라는 이런 말은 앞으로 더 이상 통용될 수 없도록 국가를 위한 희생에는 예우도 높게 지원은 두텁게 하겠습니다. 생존해 계신 애국 지사님들이 남은 여생을 불편함 없이 보내실 수 있도록 각별히 챙겨가겠습니다.
The president also vowed to expand programs honoring these heroes so that they are remembered by future generations. Also today, the special counsel questioned former First Lady Kim Gun-hee, who has been arrested on corruption charges. However, Kim refused to answer most of the questions on the allegations made against her during the session. Our political correspondent Shin Ha-young reports.
Former First Lady Kim Gun-hee appeared at a special counsel's office on Thursday morning for questioning, her first session since being arrested earlier this week on corruption charges. The face-to-face session ended at around 2 p.m., about 4 hours after it began at around 10 a.m., during which the special counsel team focused on her alleged interference in candidate nomination processes in the past elections. Unlike during her previous questioning held last Wednesday, according to the team, Kim refused to respond to most of the allegations.
The suspect exercised her right to remain silent on most of the allegations. And so the special counsel plans to summon and question her again on August 18.
Although the team plans to hold another round of questioning on Monday, Kim's side has not yet confirmed whether she will appear. In a press release, the special counsel team said they were notified that Kim would inform them of her attendance on the day. Earlier this week, the wife of former President Yoon Suk-yeol was taken into custody at a detention center in southwestern Seoul on Wednesday after a court issued an arrest warrant with detention on charges including stock price manipulation, interference in party nominations, and political influence peddling. This came after the special counsel requested the warrant a day after Kim's first questioning, citing the risk of evidence tampering. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
In other news, torrential downpours battered the capital area on Wednesday, killing at least 3 people. Lee Seung-ja has the details.
3 people died in South Korea's capital area on Wednesday amid heavy rain in the region. Over in Gimpo, west of Seoul, an elderly man was found dead in the back seat of a car after it plunged into a river. In Incheon, a man in his 40s was killed when his car skidded off the road and into a lake, while a woman in her 70s died as the car she was in crashed into a traffic light on a slippery road. The torrential rain triggered heavy rain alerts in Seoul, Incheon, Gyeonggi-do, Gangwon-do, and Chungcheongnam-do provinces, as the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters raised its emergency response to Level 2. Evacuation orders were also issued for areas near rivers at risk of flooding in Seoul and parts of Gyeonggi-do province. The heavy rains also led to train service on the Gyeonggi-Jungang line between Ilsan and Susek stations to be temporarily suspended on Wednesday, with delays on other sections. For safety, trains on the Gyeonggi line between Ujeongbu and Taeguk stations were also halted for the entire day. The Korea Meteorological Administration says 30 to 50 millimeters of rain per hour could continue through Thursday morning in the central region. Total rainfall through Thursday is expected to reach 50 to 150 millimeters in the capital area and up to 200 millimeters in Incheon and northern Gyeonggi-do regions. Gangwon could see as much as 150 millimeters and parts of Chungcheong up to 100 millimeters. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
In the meantime, Europe is fighting against the wildfires. Firefighting efforts are underway but are being hampered by extreme weather conditions. Our Park Kwon-woo has more.
At least 3 lives have been lost in intensifying wildfires across Europe, 1 each in Spain, Turkey, and Albania. And in Greece, consecutive blaze have forced the evacuation of thousands, especially near Patras, the country's 3rd largest city.
It looks like doomsday. We can't do anything more. May God help us and help the people here.
About 5,000 firefighters and around 30 aircraft have been battling flames on both the mainland and islands, including Chios. Greece has even requested assistance from other European countries and is applying for more aircraft through the EU Civil Protection Mechanism. But extreme weather, including strong winds and scorching heat, is hindering efforts. Heat alerts are in place as temperatures are soaring above 40 degrees Celsius in nearby countries, which are intensifying the wildfires. In Spain, thousands have been ordered to evacuate, including over 5,000 in the Castile and Leon regions. Residents in the country's north have also participated in containing the fire, saying the official response isn't sufficient.
The fire brigades with carts and bulldozers, it's complicated for them to extinguish the fire because there are several active fires in different towns.
Amid wildfires that have persisted for weeks across Europe, the European Union has provided assistance to fire-hit countries, including non-member states, by sending firefighters, ground crews, and aircraft. And these efforts are expected to continue as the wildfires keep burning, while the extreme summer weather continues. Park Gonu, Arirang News.
As the recent K-pop Demon Hunters continues to gain popularity, Korean traditional culture has also been coming to light. Our An Sung-jin tells us more.
The dense blue fur shakes as the tiger stands on its feet. Its oversized mask, weathered yet alive, seems to breathe. This is sajachum, or sajatalchum, directly translated as the lion dance. It's a traditional Korean dance or folk play that portrays a lion to bring good fortune. But Yeonhee Connect Il, a group of young performers, have given it a twist to it, using a tiger instead. The tiger happens to resemble the character Duffy from K-pop Demon Hunters, but the group say they began using it instead of a lion to combine elements of its fierceness, traditional Korean folk paintings, and the symbol of the mythical Seoul Hette creature with its team color blue.
The fact that this piece reminded some of K-pop Demon Hunters suggests that we successfully conveyed a universal narrative combining traditional themes and immersive media.
Through performances like this, the group works on bringing traditional folk performance arts back to life. It often performs a type of Korean percussion music known as hamulnori. But rather than merely replicating the tradition, it instead adds digital projections or modern media like DJing.
We aim to continue building on the foundation of traditional Korean performance arts while incorporating modern aspects through contemporary storytelling, media art, and choreography to create entirely new stage experiences.
For them, it's not about reproducing the past, but creating works that breathe with the present. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Today, it has been raining mainly in southern parts of Gyeonggi-do province and the Chungcheong-do provinces. About 100 millimeters of rainfall in Sejong and Chungcheongnam-do province and 5 to 20 millimeters more in Seoul and other central regions today. Meanwhile, the heat wave is covering the southern parts of the country. A heat wave warning has been issued for Gyeongsang-do provinces, Jeollanam-do province, and coastal areas of Jeju Island, and a heat wave advisories for inland areas of the Chungcheong-do provinces and Jeollanam-do province. Seoul, Daejeon, and Gwangju will start off at 25 degrees Celsius tomorrow morning, Jeju at 27 degrees. Daily highs will go up to 32 degrees in Seoul, Chuncheon, Daejeon, and Jeju. Rain in the central parts of the country will continue until tomorrow afternoon. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. For all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.